Hey everyone, today I'm part of a video hop celebrating Honeybee Stamp's 10,000 subscribers over on their YouTube channel. They are offering a $100 gift card to one very lucky winner, and also they are offering an exclusive discount code as part of the video hop. Make sure you check the description box below for links to all of the people participating in the hop today. To be eligible for that $100 gift card, you have to comment on each one of the videos in the hop. And of course, there is a video over on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Like I said, I will leave links to all of the people, all of the channels hopping along today in the description box below. I'm going to be using a bunch of products for my project today, including the freshly picked stamp and companion honey cut set. I'm also going to be using the Perfect Sentiments stamp set. I'm going to be using one of the sentiments from that set. I'm also going to be using a paper from the 6x6 Hot Tropics paper pad. I love this paper, it's gorgeous. And I'm going to start my project here with an A2 double stitched frame honey cut, and I've used that to cut out a piece of watercolor paper for my card front today. So what I'm going to be using is a bunch of Lindy Stamp Gang Magicals. There's a bunch of products that are really similar to this, and I will link up to a reasonable bunch of different products down below that you can use if you can't find the Lindy's Magicals. There's a bunch of products that are very, very similar to these on the market. The colors I'm using today are Rusty Lantern Lime, Edelweiss Moss Green, Yellow Rose of Texas, and California Poppy Gold. I really love these magicals because they add just a really pretty shimmer to your paper, and they're super, super easy to work with. So what I'm doing is putting a little bit of water in each one of the wells of my little watercolor palette to the right there. And then just with a damp watercolor brush, I'm picking up some of the pigment from the pot and then adding it into that water. Now this is the patterned paper that I'm going to be using from the Hot Tropics pattern paper pad. I love those lemons, and those lemons and limes were actually the inspiration for my color palette today that I'm using on my watercolor paper. So what I'm doing to start off with here is I'm just putting a little bit of water onto the watercolor paper with my spray bottle, and then I'm just taking some of that pigment in my watercolor brush and adding it into that water that's on the paper. And then I'm just going to let it sort of like flow around on the paper a little bit and let it pool in different areas, and that's going to cause the variation in the darkness and lightness of the color of that pigment. Now I've added a little bit of the lighter yellow there. So I've got the California Poppy Gold first, and then I added the Yellow Rose of Texas. And now I'm going to just go and drop a little bit of that California Poppy Gold into where I have the Yellow Rose of Texas, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Blend the colors together slightly and just let them run and then dry. So in between adding a new color, I am mostly letting it dry, maybe not completely, but just so that it's not really, really wet. You can also use a piece of paper towel to dry the color up if you want. You'll just get a much lighter pigment than if you let it dry naturally. And you will see me go in here with a little bit of paper towel just to sop up some of that excess water. And I'm just going to keep playing around here until I'm happy with how I like the look of my pigment on my watercolor paper. So I'll just add a few more bits of green in and just kind of try to make basically a rectangular shape. Now this is all completely dry, and I've just picked up a little bit of that pigment in a dry and a smaller watercolor brush, and I'm just putting some splatters on there just to make it look a little bit more interesting and detailed. And those are actually going to show up really nice and shimmery and shiny on my background. And so this is the finished piece, and I'm ready to move on to the next step. I'm just going to show you up close how nice and shiny that is. So pretty. Now I'm going to start stamping out my freshly picked images that I'm going to be using from that stamp set, and I'm going to stick to the lemon and lime look that Hot Tropics paper has on it, and I'm trying to duplicate as closely as possible the types of, or the different colors of green and yellow, and I'm trying to add a little bit of orange to one of the lemons that I stamp out here as well. And you'll just see that I end up with kind of an interesting variation of colors of different pieces of fruit here. Now I'm taking another stamp from that freshly picked set that is the outline. So this is the solid image that I have down already on my paper, and now I'm going to stamp out an outline on each one of those different pieces. Now I am using some Nina 80-pound cardstock here in my mini Misty, and I'm just, stamping out these images multiple times until I get the look that I want. And you can just see here how I'm lining up that outline on the solid image before I stamp it out to make sure that it is nicely centered over top of that solid image. And then I'm going in with a darker green. This is actually an archival ink color called Library Green. And I just like how it really defines the fruit and has a really nice color to it that goes along with the color family that I've chosen here for the different pieces. Now I am going to take the honey cuts that are companion with the freshly picked set and get those all cut out, and I've set those aside, and I'm going to go on to my next step. Now this is a piece of vellum, and I'm adding a little bit of anti-static powder to that vellum so that I can do a little bit of heat embossing on that. So I'm just tapping that embossing powder on there, and you know what, your embossing powder will stick even more to vellum. So, and you'll see how that happens here. Even though I got lots of the anti-static powder on here, my embossing powder is still going to stick a little bit. So I'm going to put this into my Misty, and I'm going to center my sentiment on that vellum piece. It's going to say, my sentiment is going to say, I could just squeeze you, which I think is brilliant, and it goes along so nicely with the lemon and limes. I'm going to just take some embossing ink. This is just a clear sticky ink, and I'm going to ink up my stamp, my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that down onto that vellum. I'm going to do that a couple of times to make sure that my sentiment is nice and solid. And now I'm just taking some gold embossing powder, and I'm going to pour that over top of my sentiment here. And you can even see here, even though I put that powder tool on there, that anti-static powder tool, I still get a little bit of sticking to my vellum. So I'm just going to take a really fine paintbrush and just gently and carefully and delicately brush that excess off. And now I'm going to use my heat tool to melt that embossing powder. And you have to be really careful on vellum, because vellum will warp and kind of it'll damage the paper, the heat from your heat tool. So you have to let your heat tool heat up, and then just use just a really short little heat time on your vellum. And now this is really nicely melted. So now I'm taking a green cardstock base, and I'm going to stick down that lemon and lime paper to my card base. And I'm just going to use some tape runner here to do that and get that stuck down. And that is a piece of Gina K Jelly Bean Green, I believe. And now I'm just going to take my vellum belly band, and I'm going to fold it over onto each side of my card front. And now I'm going to just kind of get an idea of where I want my lemons and limes to go and get those stuck down. And I am using some of the Creative Precision Tip glue from Honeybee Stamps. This is amazing glue. Highly recommend it. It is a full ounce of really nice glue that has a little bit of repositionable time in it, so that it does allow you to wiggle your objects around a little bit before they're completely stuck down, which is really great for us card makers. I love that. I'm using a little bit of tiny foam adhesive dots on the back of that center lemon piece and that the lime on the right, just to pop those pieces up a little bit. And now I'm just going to take a little bit more of my precision glue, and I'm going to add in a couple of leaves to the lemon and the lime on the right, and that is going to keep those adhered down. And I don't know if I did it already, I can't remember, but I'm just going to use a little bit of tape runner on the back of my vellum piece to glue that down onto my card front. And maybe I'm going to show that right now. Oh yes, I am. Here we go. So I'm just going to take that belly band, flip it over, and I'll just put a little bit of adhesive on the back of that and then stick that down. Now I'm going to pop that part of my card front up onto some foam adhesive using some foam adhesive double-sided tape. and I'll just put strips of that all across that and get that stuck down to my card front. Last step, I'm going to do a couple of sparkle and shiny bits on my card. I'm going to add a little bit of sea foam stickles and some gold stickles to all of my different little images here, my little lemons and limes. And I'm also going to add a little bit of gold stickles to my watercolored area too, just tiny little dots. And I'm going to add some clear Wink of Stella to my lime and my lemon slice and my solid lemon here. And you'll just see me trying to dodge the stickles I've already got down there because I didn't want to smear those. So I'm just going to turn my card as I'm adding this Wink of Stella in around the stickles, just so that I don't smear those stickles, which are still wet, obviously. Okay, so just going to finish that up. And this card actually has a lot of sparkle and shine, and I really like how it looks. I'm going to give you a really good close-up look at the card when it's all finished here. And I just want to remind you to make sure that you check out the description box below for links to all of the other YouTubers in this video hop today celebrating Honeybee Stamp's 10,000 subscribers. We're so excited, and offering that $100 gift card to one lucky recipient. Make sure you comment on all of the different videos to be eligible, and good luck. I wish you nothing but luck, and make sure that you capitalize on the exclusive discount code as well. Thanks so much for stopping by today. We really appreciate it. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you again another time. Bye-bye.